Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, 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 everyone, everywhere. Thank you, my sisters, my brothers, and anything you want to identify as. We welcome you. I'm Loretta Green Williams, CEO, founder of Women of Concerned Professionals and Strategic Conscious Networking. And today we are having the Lena Baker Domestic Violence. Thank you, my sisters, my brothers, and anything you want to identify as. We welcome you. I'm Loretta Green Williams, CEO, founder of Women of Concerned Professionals and Strategic Conscious Networking. And today, we are having the Lena Baker Domestic Violence. Okay, so don't know what happened there. Okay, well, then you get to hear me on multiple levels, which I'm loving. I don't have a problem with that. But that is not going to work for us today. So maybe I am too loud. So don't know what happened there. Okay, can you still hear me? Okay, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So what we're going to do is we are going to get started. Now, the exciting thing about this is our third year in the making. Ronnie Savage will tell you more, but this is the first time we decided to do a hybrid. We are here in San Francisco, California at the Women's Building. That's on 18th Street here in San Francisco, the Mission District. Now, the wonderful thing is the historical relationship that this building has to the community. As we move forward in 2024, we will do additional information, research, and partnering with Women's Building. And the historic side about this, we are in the Audre Lorde room. Okay, I just had to do that. Because if y'all know me, you know I love me some Audre Lorde. She took it home for us. And, you know, rest her soul, but I'm just excited to be here in the honored place where she is named. We want to thank our guests that are here. We also want to thank our sponsors, and we'll talk more about that as we move forward. And we want to thank Sister Connection from University of San Francisco. My babies are sitting right back there. That's right. Those are my babies. I'll tell you about that in a minute. They're back. All righty. So for the welcome, here is Ronnie Savage.
Welcome, 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 everyone. I am Ronnie Savage, CEO and Director of Sports Opportunity for WOC. We want to welcome you to our third annual Lena Baker's Domestic Violence and Health Summit. Also, we would like to let you know that this is being sponsored under our core values of gender equity and equality for all. Thank you, everyone, for coming, to all our sponsors, and your continued support of this initiative. Women's health issues is such a big initiative, and we are grateful from the bottom of our hearts to be here in this building in San Francisco at the Women's Building. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and welcome to our summit.
Thank you so very much, Ronnie. So what is exciting about this summit is we've gone global. We have women from various parts of the globe, and we're excited for our very guest, Sheena Yap Chan, who is an author, prolific author. She's going to explain more about what she's doing, and take the floor, Sheena.
First off, hello, everyone. And Loretta, thank you so much for having me as a speaker. I mean, I just love your energy. I remember the first time I met you, you were just like a ball of energy, and I just love it. It's just contagious, and it just like spreads, you know, outside of San Francisco all the way here to Canada. So I just want to say thank you. Hello, everyone. Super excited to be here. My name is Sheena Yap Chan. As Loretta mentioned, I am an author. I'm also a keynote speaker on leadership and confidence. And for me, that's really important, especially as women. We go through a lot of self-esteem issues, a lot of self-confidence issues. I mean, you look at me, I'm Asian. You know, I've grown up knowing that I had to follow a path or else it was shameful. And that took a lot of me to realize that I can walk my own path. I can color, I can color outside the lines, which is something that's rarely talked about, right? And we may come from different cultures, but we go through similar things, whether it's dealing with negative stereotypes. Mental health is still a huge taboo. Going through trauma, not being able to share our feelings. This is a safe space where we can talk about it. So for me, all this journey actually really started when I moved to Canada when I was 7. And it was really hard for me to see anybody in the media that looked like me. So I was always ashamed of who I was because all I ever saw was blonde hair and blue eyes. It wasn't until my 20s when I decided to dye my hair back from blonde to my original hair color where I finally accepted being Asian. And, in 2015, I was dealing with my own confidence issues, and I wanted to see if there was any resources that is specifically targeted for Asian women as well. And there wasn't any. And for me, representation is important, especially, for women of color. We all, if you look at across the board, the numbers are still very low till this day. So for me, creating better representation is really important. So in September of 2015, I started a podcast called The Tao of Self-Confidence at the bottom here, where I've interviewed Asian women about their journey to self-confidence. It's been around for 8 years. I've interviewed over 750 Asian women on this topic, and I realized I needed to do more. I really needed to get more visible and spread this message because, it goes beyond my culture, right? As women, we all go through self-confidence issues. We all can relate to each other. We've all gone through similar situations where it's, we're prone to serve everyone else except for ourselves, or we do 10 million things at once, or we feel like we're not good enough and we feel like we have to keep chasing the next thing to feel valid. I never want any other woman to feel that way. So in February of 2021, I also co-created a book called Asian Women Who Boss Up, which is right here, which highlights the stories of 18 Asian women who are able to forge their own path, overcome obstacles, and thrive. And this is actually part of a book series that we created in the pandemic called Women Who Boss Up. We have different themes. We have one highlighting women of color, highlighting Latinas, highlighting real estate agents, highlighting health and wellness, women entrepreneurs, moms. We've been able to launch 11 books. We got 2 more books coming out later this year. And then we're on our 14th book. Right? We really want to create this amazing representation of women, especially when it comes to books. People don't realize, I think about 63% of readers are women, but yet, we still see, the same 5 authors, on the bookshelf. So we really wanted to create variety. We wanted to create representation. And we've also created this amazing community of women, right? I mean, you guys are here because you also want to have that camaraderie, that collaboration. And I understand as women, we should be collaborating, right? We should be working together. We all have a similar purpose. In the end, we just want to make this world a better place. We want to be treated as equals. I mean, no, I don't think anybody wants to wait 130 years for gender parity to be achieved, right? Yeah. And then last year, I was approached by Wiley, which is one of the top 5 publishers in the world, to write my current book, The Tao of Self-Confidence, a guide to moving beyond trauma and awakening the leader within. And, when I actually got approached to do this book, in all honesty, I was dealing with my own confidence issues. I was going through imposter syndrome, which is, normal for everyone. I was like, are you sure you want me to write a book about Asian women leadership? Back in my head, it's like, I have no clue what leadership looks like. I don't even know if I consider myself a leader, right? Even though I talk about confidence, right? I was like the least confident. And so, I decided to do it because it just wasn't for me as well. It's for every single woman out there who's felt underrepresented, who's felt invisible all their life. I wanted them to realize, like, here's me. I'm making a path for all of us. I'm breaking those barriers. I want to open the doors for all of us so you can see what's possible. And it's been such a crazy ride. I was mentioning to someone that I had to write this book in less than 3 months so that it can come out earlier this year. And actually, in 2025, I'll be launching a second book with the same publisher. So it's been a crazy journey. It wasn't easy. Of course, when you're going out there trying to do your own path, it's not like rainbows and butterflies. It's going to be up and down, right? There's days where you're 110% confident, and then there's days where you're negative 10% confident. And that is normal, right? We all go through those seasons. There's days where we're going to feel stuck. There's days where we're going to struggle. I mean, I struggled for the first 5 years of my journey when I started my podcast. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to monetize it. I felt like there was people out there already who was doing it. So why do I need to do it? I felt a lot of, I just felt like all these different feelings of not feeling good enough or not feeling worthy. And that actually delayed my own success because of how I perceived myself. And, you don't realize, women actually face a huge confidence gap from men, right? Like if a man and a woman decided to apply for a promotion, a woman would be 110% confident, while a man would be about like 30%. He'll go for it while the woman still kind of holds back, right? She still thinks she needs to do everything, 110% perfect, not realizing she's more than capable to go out there and do it. I felt like that. I've resisted a lot in my life too, and that resistance actually delayed my own success. Trying to be perfect delayed my own success. And as women, we're capable, right? If we just go out there and figure things out as we go, imagine what we can accomplish. And there's been studies that prove that women are actually more capable than men. There was actually an experiment by Zachary Estes. I think he's a psychologist. He decided to prove this, right? That women are more capable than men. So he decided to have two groups, one men, one women, and they had to solve this problem on the computer, right? So they tried to solve this problem, and he realized that the men did better than the women. But what he also noticed about the women is that most of them didn't even try. So he went back to the group of women. He said, I want you to just write anything, right? Just write an answer, just write a solution. I don't care if it's right or wrong, just write a solution. And, when they were able, when each and every one of them had a solution, we actually did way better. So that's just proof, right? And I know sometimes it's hard. I get it. I get it. I've been where you've been. Like I've resisted so many times. I would, procrastinate till like there was no tomorrow. My anxiety level would go up. When I get rejected, I would like eat my feelings. So I totally understand that it is hard and it is nerve-wracking. But the best part is that you don't have to do it alone, right? We have support. You're part of this amazing group. You have Loretta, who's like the most amazing woman I've ever met. Like she's just always like, just always like energetic and just really excited of helping, especially women, just like do better, right? Creating these summits, being able to spread the message, especially for women. And this is what we don't really do, right? As women, we don't really collaborate. We feel like we have to be the superwoman. We have to do everything ourselves. And in all reality, we don't, right? We can, learn to lean on each other. We can create communities, create groups where, we can work together, right? Versus trying to do everything ourselves. Men constantly do that all the time. So as women, we should be able to do that as well, right? And it's been a crazy journey, but I wouldn't have changed it. I'm grateful for everything I've been through, all the struggles, the fears, the doubts, because it wouldn't have led me to today, being able to speak in front of you, to share my journey when it comes to confidence. And I know confidence is something most women deal with, right? There's been studies where, girls as young as 8 deal with confidence issues, right? And then, when it comes to like trauma is also a huge part of it. It's the whole reason why I wrote the book, because we go through a lot of trauma, but we don't even realize that our trauma is holding us back from our greatness, and there's all kinds of trauma, of course, like domestic violence, sexual trauma, PTSD, racial trauma, money trauma, intergenerational trauma is really big, especially in our community. People don't realize like we're not only carrying the trauma, like our own traumas, but we could be carrying the traumas of our ancestors or parents or grandparents, especially when they migrate from, a different country to North America, right? Starting from zero, literally had to work their way up to provide a better life. And so it's really important to have open spaces where we can talk about what we've been through, or find, even be aware of the traumas that we've been through. Sometimes we try to tune it out, thinking if we tune it out, then it never happened. I've done that too, right? And, like when an incident came, I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about this. And then trying to find ways to heal from it so that we can move forward as our best self, right? There's a ton of leadership books out there, which there's nothing wrong with them. But I think, it's people don't realize that we have to dig a little bit deeper versus having this like rigid manual. We really need to like peel the layer of onions to figure out what is really stopping us, right? It could be something from our childhood, from our current position, maybe from 3 years ago, or maybe it's from our parents or grandparents, right? An example is, I failed kindergarten for coloring outside the lines, right? And because of that, I always thought I was a constant failure in everything that I did. And if I didn't do the inner work that I did, then I realized that, I was just always meant to color outside the lines. I was always meant to just do my own thing, create my own path, not follow the norm, or not, follow what my culture tells me to do. And so this is why it's so important to have these conversations, especially when it comes to confidence. And I'm really grateful that, I'm here today to connect with you, to chat with you. And I think my time is up, so I'm going to, be mindful of everyone's time for sure. But if anyone wants to connect with me, you can go to my website, sheenayapchan.com. I actually have a free quiz that will, tell you what your self-confidence personality is. You can also pick up a copy of my book, The Tao of Self-Confidence. It's available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. And I'm just really grateful to be here today, to connect with you, to be in the company with these amazing ladies, and for, Loretta, for inviting me. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here today. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so very much. It's wonderful to have you, my dearest. I'm one of those people that I live from the heart. And so when I saw you on LinkedIn, I said, oh, that's got to be one of my babies. I got to have her too. So we just embrace that. So one of the things that you said very interesting, and I want to bring to thought, and we will open it up to the audience if they have any additional questions too, is what made you come to the position that you understood, that you had that aha moment that, wait, I can do something else outside of the box, but still be the box?
Yeah, I think the biggest, I used to work, a 9-to-5 job, and I always felt trapped in it. I would like sit in my cubicle and I would like think, I don't think I can do this until I'm 60. Not that there's anything wrong with having a job. I think if you love your job, that is great. But I know a lot of people don't like their job, right? Especially when it comes to politics and things like that, like at the workplace. And so about 13 years ago, about 11 years ago, my aunt passed away from a horrific accident. She fell off a cliff, and that made me like wake up and realize, like, life is so short. We really don't know what's going to happen. And I didn't want to look back thinking I regret doing the stuff that I wanted. And so it didn't happen overnight, but it started, hamster on a wheel, like thinking, oh, what can I do to start creating the life that I wanted? I can honestly say I've actually done everything that I could ever want and more, especially, being picked up by, one of the biggest publishers in the world. Like, that to me is surreal. Like, that to me, I did not expect at all. Not because I didn't believe in myself. I just didn't think about it. I was really happy that I have this book that's, creating a voice for Asian women and beyond. And so for me, I was really content with that. But when this book came along, or this opportunity, I had to say yes, not just for myself, but for every single woman out there, to realize, we need more women authors, especially women of color. We need, our specific stories matter, right? Because for so long, every time I would apply for a speaking engagement, I would always get this excuse like, well, we think your story is too specific, or it caters to a specific audience. And I never understood that. Like, what does that mean? Is it because of the way that I look? How are we supposed to be telling the same stories thinking we're going to have a different solution? And this is why having our specific stories matters so much, because we can learn from each other. We can find different solutions to problems. And then we can find, we see things from a different perspective.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, my darling. Please stay on if you can, because we definitely will have more questions. We just want you to embrace who's here and allow them to embrace you. But thank you so very much for those words of encouragement. And we're looking forward to being a part of that book presentation. So the next book you write about, make sure that I'm included. Make sure you have at least a chapter about me, because it is always about me. I'm just being straight up. All righty. So our next sister coming up, and we're really excited about Lavoya Woods. She's a powerful young woman. That was really exciting, is because she and I came together. Again, LinkedIn. I'm trying to tell you, if you ain't on LinkedIn, you ain't gonna reach out. You ain't gonna find me. I'm just saying. But Lavoya was so open and warm when I presented the concept of, please come and talk to us. Be with us. And she has a very unique perspective for how she addresses she's an ecotherapist. So she deals with that soul, that innate you, that real you, that you don't want folk to know. She get in there, finds it, and draws it out. So, baby girl, tell us about you, share your information, and the floor is yours.
Wow, what a powerful introduction, Loretta. Thank you. I want to make sure that you all can hear me clearly because I am clearly outdoors. I want to make sure the sound is okay.
Yeah. Oh, how pretty. I thought that was a backdrop. Okay.
No, I'm so honored to be in this space. And Loretta, I'm so grateful that you did flag me and see something in me that would be a benefit to this space, because I'm just honored by being in this in presence with you all here today. So thank you for that. So I am currently taking my teenage daughter on a college tour. We're in upstate New York. So we've been driving around for the past 4 days looking at colleges. We just finished our last tour, but I knew that I had to stop. So I am at a rest stop because I wanted to get in this space and hear these powerful words from these powerful women and make sure that I was also sharing my story. So I ask you all to bear with me. I hope that you can hear me clearly throughout this, and let's go on this little journey together. So a little bit about me. As Loretta shared, I'm an ecotherapist. My background is in social work. And more recently, I've been a consultant and a therapeutic coach for BIPOC folks. And I focus on the ways that we can heal intergenerational trauma, specifically through ecotherapy retreats in nature, and through collective coaching experiences, community coaching experiences, where we can get back to the ancestral wisdom that reminds us that we cannot heal alone, we cannot create radical safety alone, and we cannot heal from systemic trauma alone. So I'm really grateful for the work that I do. And it has very much been a process of learning how to listen to my inner voice, and understand where I want that voice to be heard, and the type of rooms that I want to be in. Sheena, you mentioned a couple times in your talk about the impacts of trauma on the way that we show up in the world. And I really wanted to speak to that as well. My background as a therapist, yes, is ecotherapy, but I'm a specialist in trauma, and specifically intergenerational trauma in families of color. So doing that work, and I'm completely fascinated and obsessed with epigenetics and the ways that trauma moves through our ancestral line and lives in our DNA, and also the way resilience and protectiveness lives in our stories as well. So today, I really want to focus a little bit on how the identities that we hold as women, I identify as a gender expansive person, non-binary person, how they are shaped by the systems around us. And before coming into this talk, I listened to that Nina song, My Name is Peaches, and it really felt to me like a story of identity, right? Of this unfolding identity and the ways that those identities are shaped by forces that are outside of our control. So what I want to leave with you today is how we name ourselves in a culture that wasn't built for us. Okay, so I will share a little bit more about my story. I'm a fourth generation New Yorker. So I'm a child of the Great Migration, Black folks who fled from the violence in the South up to the North. My great grandparents bought land and built our ancestral home in Queens, New York. So I come from a long line of women who were in service to their children, service to their husbands, service to their community, service to their faith. And I hold that legacy very dearly. It's a legacy that I hold as a badge in my work. I see myself in service as a parent. And I'm a veteran, I'm a teacher. Being in service is a noble act. And we know that from the legacies of colonialism, the legacies of forced labor, of genocide, that often for women of color, the cost of that service is their personhood, their sense of who they are, their dreams, desires, right? I'm sure that many of us have stories of grandmothers and mothers who gave so much that there was nothing left for them. So it's important for me, and this has really hit home for me as I'm on this trip with my child, that naming ourselves and who we are and what we desire is an act of revolution. It's an act of transformation. So we, when we think about the ways that the systems around us name us, right? Either as too much or not enough, too loud, unprofessional, less than, we are often compressed into these identities that are built around the limited imagination of our oppressors. So I know for myself, that means that we find ourselves feeling like the lives that we're living they don't quite fit. They feel like a shirt that is too small. And that can come from the things we hear from our parents, from the things we hear in our community, all those ways that we're asked to make ourselves smaller to fit in to a story that was never written for us. So in naming ourselves in this generation, because of the sacrifices of our ancestors, we have the power, the safety, and the resources to name ourselves. And I want to lean into 3 ways that we can do that today. And I learned these 3 things. I try to be open about, yes, the information I share comes from the degrees and the letters, but before I ever stepped into a classroom, I was learning my foremothers, and from ancestral wisdom and from my experiences. So I try to value and hold dear, yes, the formal knowledge that we get, but the ancestral wisdom that is just as powerful. So number 1, how do we name ourselves in a culture that wasn't built for us? Make friends with our shame using radical compassion. One of the ways that I work with folks when I'm coaching them through stepping into their power is recognizing that shame is a tool of oppression. Shame is the stories that we're told about ourselves to keep us small. So whenever we hear a voice that says we should do something, right? Something in our head, I really should be meditating every morning. I really should get that PhD, when you know that you really probably don't need it. We don't need to do the most all the time, right? Maybe I should, no offense to all the beautiful doctorates in this space. I should get that next certificate. I should get that job that's going to wear me to the bone. Those shoulds typically are not your story. It is an external pressure to fit in, again, this cultural narrative about who you're supposed to be. So when we allow ourselves to listen to that voice and dig deeper and find out, where does it come from, right? Where does this shame come from? Oh, that was from my mother, who was afraid of not being paid well, of not having her children be safe. We can reconcile that shame, make friends with it, and give ourselves the radical compassion that we need to show up in ways that feel good to us. Number 2, let love lead, which sounds super cheesy, but the idea behind this is that often we're running away from something in order to be successful, right? I don't have the same life as my parents, or I don't want to be seen as less than as a woman. But what I'm asking you to do is to run towards your purpose through your pleasure. What are the things that make you brighten up? What are the things that turn your light on? What are the things that make you wake up and feel deeply and cry and moan and What are the deep desires? Let them lead you, because you're in your pleasure is your purpose. And the last one I'll share today is to get rooted in the collective. Part of the story of white supremacy, of patriarchy, is that we must do things in isolation, that we are isolated from ourselves, isolated from nature, isolated from the collective, isolated from our ancestors. And ultimately, this creates deeper wounds. So every day, we can choose to lean into the collective. And for me, that means learning my ancestors' stories, right? On this trip in New York, I decided to stop in Queens and talk with my grandmother and to ask her things about her childhood, about her experiences, because their stories are our stories, and they have wisdom to share that empowers us. And when we choose to lean into the collective in whatever we're doing, when we choose to ask for help, to delegate, to make space, we're opening ourselves to live in our power, in our deepest power as a collective. So yeah, that is all I have to share today. I'm so thrilled, and I really appreciate you all giving me this space today.
Thank you so very much. You are just a powerful speaker, and you said something that really resonated in my heart, and I want to share with you. You gave me the theme for next year's summit. When you give the best of your service. Because basically that's what you shared. We give the best of our service, and ain't nobody appreciated it, not even ourselves. Talk about that. Go and talk. Go and talk.
That is so real. Thank you, Loretta. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I name that as an intergenerational, because the story is, if you give all of yourself, you'll be loved, you will belong, you will be safe. And safety, love, and belonging those are human needs. We cannot get around them. But the way that we rewrite the story is by serving ourselves, deepening our presence with ourselves, so that we're giving from our overflow. Because we cannot heal in deficit. We cannot create powerful stories in deficit. So yeah, thank you for that, Loretta.
Well, thank you, baby. I appreciate you. You know, I appreciate you. So thank you so very much, and taking time out of your schedule to spend time with us. I'm honored. Tell the baby girl blessings to her. We're going to keep her in prayer that she make the right decision to go to school. We got her. We got her. We got her. So, audience, if you have any questions or anything, please step forward. I want take the mic. Take the mic. Oh yeah, it's gonna be on now. We have a church. I just want you to know. I'm just saying.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bishop Faye Graham. What you've just said resounds loudly in my soul, because I was in a marriage completely transformed into the life and into the things my husband needed or wanted, and completely ignored everything about myself. So I was living someone else's life, accepting all the wicked evilness without even considering standing up for myself. So I was weak and empty, and still wanting to put up a facade and an image that I'm okay. I am okay, and I was not okay. When everything ended, I made a conscious decision that I have to get to know Faye again. It took from 2006 February 2006. To this day, what's today?
October 27, 2000.
October 27, 2023. And I can say in this very moment, in this space, I am okay. I have regained my power. I have lived a life before my children that they all see the road, the journey I took to be here in this condition of wholeness. You said revolutionary mode. You have to become this revolutionary to understand it is not okay for someone to take your power away from you. It's not okay for someone to for you to accept whatever it is that someone puts on you. My path forward from that moment to now has been a movie for my children and my grandchildren, right? So they would know your joy, your peace, your love, your comfort is not in another person, it's in the person within you. The power within. It's in the power within. So my goal is to allow the young people, especially, to understand that you have to take it by storm. You got to go up in there and say, oh, no more. And you have to live a life that is above. It's above. It's above the fray. It's above. Because when you do that, you allow your light to shine. You allow your strength to speak for you when you do that. My babies, I got 5 children and I got 5 grandchildren. And the way I walk and what I say, it got to line up. I wasn't saying one thing and doing the next. It has to align itself. That's what I've done. So I say to you, keep on doing what you're doing. Let that light and that strength continue to go before you and speak for you. Okay? When it's all said and done, we are planting seeds and you shall reap a harvest. God bless.
Oh, I told you we was going to church now. Oh, come on now. Come on. You ain't said nothing but a word when it comes to me. But all right, okay, let me bring it back. Let me bring it back. All right. But one of the wonderful things I appreciate, Lavoya, you said is you had to go back into the aspects of Lena Baker, because this is we're identifying these underpinnings, not only the life of Lena Baker, but the concepts that Nina Simone designed when she wrote for women. Now, the wonderful thing about that is after this, we're going to move into the platform where there's going to be a reading written by Dana Verde and performed by Pernell Walker of the 4 women. Oh, that's going to be a discourse. And then after that, we're going to move into LinkedIn Live and we're going to have an afterthought. All those that ain't show up, we're going to call them out. All right, so that's another one. All right. So the next speaker we're going to have, and she is one of our Ifonia Gilleen. We're excited to have Ifonia. She does body work as well. And we're excited about that. Dr. Sharon, get ready to say something after that. Dr. Christine, I see you on that. Don't even try it. You're going to have to say something. And Nisha Wyatt, you've been with us. You're going to have to say something. So I'm prepping you. I'm prepping you to do the work. All right. Just say it. Okay. Ifonia, take the floor, dearest. Make all your
Thank you.
introductions. Speak your truth, baby. Speak your truth.
Okay, thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so my name is Ifonia Gillen, but I go by Grandmumble Otilia. Grandmumble stands for grandmother, you know, the grandmother of healer, which is kind of like a ascended master. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about is about, you know, self-love, self-healing, and you know, and finding your purpose, and how self-love is so important, that love is the highest vibration, you know, to be on when you want to manifest. You know, we can manifest anything basically. So I've been doing this work for a very long time. I kind of was born with with gifts. I just never appreciate the gifts because it was shone upon, you know. And so now that I'm older, I realize that how important those gifts are, and that my mission here is to help others develop their gifts, and to help others not feel embarrassed about having those beautiful gifts, because everything in this world has been taught to us the opposite way. So to confuse us, and that's why you see a lot of discord, a lot of things are happening to families, to us not understanding ourselves, not loving ourselves like we should, because we think that everything is outside of ourselves. Like we think we're supposed to look for abundance outside of ourselves, but it really is in ourselves. But we have to do the healing work. And the spirit last night, the spirit gave me some words to share with you guys. And those words are that in every family dynamic have someone, they may call them a chosen one or someone, and they call them black, aka black sheep. Those are the people who's supposed to come in the family to break generational curses. Because just like when you have a game, life is like a game. You see games on TV where people have to go through different levels, different hurdles to get to, you know, in this journey to get to where they're going. So nothing in this world is easy. But when you learn about who you are, your generation and your bloodline, and find out who you truly are, then you start to get to know yourself, and then you start to understand that the entities and the demons that come around to trying to stop your flow is to teach you to build you up, to teach you something for you to take to the next level, so you can be the best version of yourself. So nothing happened to us by accident. And sometimes we think something that looks bad is actually bad, but it's not really bad. It's to teach us something. We're supposed to learn something from it and move forward. But because we have so many distractions, so many people around giving us, you know, misinformation, because a lot of people don't understand things esoterically. They understand things exoterically. Because of that, so they give us the wrong information, because sometimes we are lost. We try to find ourselves, but we can't, so we get all confused. But through your journey of self-discovery, self-love, and finding who you are, every time you pass a hurdle, you get a gift. The universe gives you a gift, and that gift could be different of healing with your hands, or it could be your words. Your words could be healing. It could be just you, just being your presence could be healing to someone else. But we don't know those things because we never thought them. So therefore, we always been told to turn the other cheek. We always been told to love your neighbor as yourself. We always told these things, but they never really tell us the true dynamic of it. Like, for example, when they say love your enemy, they talk about your family members, because your family is can be your enemy, but strangers is something else, you know? So you pray for your family members, you know, and when you, because they don't know what they're doing, because we have, in our family, we have so many generational curses that we have to break. So every time someone comes and trying to make changes, they become offensive and trying to stop it. But it's your job as the chosen one, or so-called AKA black sheep, to move forward and find out who you are. Love yourself. Have unconditional love for yourself. Then you can share it with other people. Everything goes to yourself. So when you, everybody in this world is spiritual. We were born with six angels and one demon. So the demon is also to protect you. So sometimes I know that we've been hearing like demons, you know, just get rid of your demons. But your demons can be some habits that you have that you encounter along the way. Instead of trying to get rid of it, you need to embrace it and find out why you have that habit and how can you use it to your benefit versus using it against you, because you've been using it against yourself and not realizing that you can actually use it to your benefit. Sorry about that. Do anyone have any questions? Does that make sense to anyone so far?
Absolutely. I know you're in a position where you might have to leave us in a moment, but yeah, I absolutely do. It's really interesting how you said about the generational relationship, that the demons we have to address, and they could be carried from generation to generation. It's internalized. And how do you address it? We have to understand how to address it.
Okay, so the way you address that is you find out what they are and you accept them. Okay, because we have been taught that somebody else can take care of it for us. God is in us, right? Because God is in us. So, and we also have the demon in us, right? So when you go towards God, then that means you are working for yourself. Because remember, the Bible says that God does not want to, he wants to prosper you, right? He wants to work to prosper you, to want good for you. So when you listen to the God voice in you, then you are prospering and want to do good for yourself. But when you're listening to the demonic voice in you, then that means you are going against yourself. So find out what those demons are and face them and say, okay, I have this habit of taking more than I should. I want to face that. I want to be honest with myself and say that's something that I need to work on. And then you work on that, and then you move forward. And instead of being ashamed of it, instead of saying I don't want to see it, because it's always going to come with you. When you don't look at something, it's going to come with you because you're not addressing it. I'm going to give you as an example. When I was younger, I was bullied, but I didn't really address the bullying. But now that I'm older, I went somewhere and I'm volunteering, and somebody was bullying, continuously bullying me. Until I addressed it, it just kept on happening. So there are things that's going to come up because things that we haven't addressed, and we have to face them and say, okay, we are okay with that. We're no longer afraid of it and move forward, because remember, God is in you, so you shouldn't be afraid of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you so much, my darling. Powerful message. Powerful message. Something we're going to take and eat on, breathe on, touch on, and look inside. What is that demon? Where that demon come from? You better get up out of here. You better go on. So we're going to talk and we're going to address that. Thank you so much for your time, my darling. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You have a good one.
You too. So our next guest we're excited about is, she is a guest that didn't know she was going to be one. So next, Dr. Sharon Rodriguez. She is an educator, and she just stayed in there with it. So she's our guest speaker too. Come on, Dr. Sharon.
Hi, everyone. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's good evening for me over here in the East Coast. I'm Dr. Sharon Cuba Rodriguez. I am a school social worker. I primarily work with students with challenges and disabilities. But my experiences have been in various fields. I have more than 15 years of working with HIV/AIDS prevention and education, hospital discharge planning. I'm also a professor. Some of my interests include advocacy, national, international women and girls' rights, HIV/AIDS, intimate partner violence, mental health, and wellness, cultural competency and cultural humility, trauma, including adverse childhood experiences, and self-care. So today I'm just going to speak to you primarily about self-care. It's easy for people to say, well, you have to take care of yourself. You have to do self-care. And what does that look like? We were never taught how to, right? Just know that self-care is not selfish. The cost of that self-neglect is high. It ranges from nagging stress to eroding health and well-being to like compassion fatigue and job burnout. So you're really just crippling yourself, where it forces you to walk away from your chosen profession or your career path, or whatever your journey is at that moment. So among those obstacles that may be standing in the way of self-care is like lack of energy, too many responsibilities, and fear of appearing weak and vulnerable. Another hurdle is a person's difficulty in putting themselves first. We, as women, we tend not to put ourselves first because, of course, we have other obligations such as family, children, and so forth. So it's hard for us to put ourselves first, but we have to, because if we do not put ourselves first, no one else will. And once we're gone, what's going to happen, right? So that inability to acknowledge that our needs deserve to be made priority. And that definitely should be a priority. Self-care is not an activity. I want to repeat that again. Self-care is not an activity. This is something that you do because you are taking care of yourself. You're putting yourself first. You're doing things that excite you, that makes you happy, that counteracts whatever job or whatever activities that you're doing that kind of brings you down. As a social worker, we kind of take on other people's baggage. And how do we let go of that? It's very difficult. So time is one of the most common reasons that we women kind of neglect self-care. We say we don't have time, but we should make time, even if it's 5 minutes in the day, to take a breather, to self-reflect, to take a step back, and kind of see what's happening in our worlds and assess what's happening in our worlds and say, okay, so I'm going to be intentional with my actions. Self-care are activities and practices that we engage in a regular basis to reduce stress, to maintain and enhance our short and long-term well-being. Our health should be priority. It's necessary for us to be effective and succeed in honoring our commitments, whether it's a professional commitment, whether it's a personal commitment. We have to do these things. It's not simple. It's not easy. And like I said, we are not taught to do these things. And sometimes when we hear self-care, it's like, okay, that means we have to exercise. It's not only about the physical aspect of it. We have to take care of ourselves mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, because if we don't, we're going to come crashing, and that's just a disaster waiting to happen. So some of the things that we kind of take advantage of, right? Instead of getting our full 8-hour sleep, we kind of sleep 4 hours and then we're up again. We don't take time to self-reflect. We do not take time to kind of assess what's happening in our worlds. We don't take time to read literature. We don't take time to journal. We don't take time to decrease our stress. And to decrease our stress level, you may have to learn how to say no. It's not easy to say no, but you have to learn how to say no, because once you put that boundary and you say, no, I'm not doing that, you're going to feel that you're not carrying the world on your shoulders and other people's worlds on your shoulders by yourself. Another example is going to like an art museum or a history exhibit. Engage your in intellectual abilities and capabilities is important for ourselves and our minds. It's okay to be curious. It's okay to say no. It's okay to spend time in company with others that you truly enjoy being in company with. And the last one that I'm gonna, before I wrap up, is love yourself. If you do not love yourself, if you cannot look in the mirror and love that person looking back at you, faults and all, no matter what it is, then there's a serious problem, because that means you're going to continue to struggle. You're going to continue to drag your feet. You're going to continue to have all these negative factors revolve around your world, when you can easily, once you love yourself, there's no stopping you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Sheridan. You said something very important that I want to bring out, and I want you to really speak a little bit more about this aspect, that self-care is not like a luxury. We have a tendency nowadays, especially because it's the buzzword, that it makes it sound like it's something that it's an extraordinary task when it should be in you to take care of yourself. Talk about that.
Absolutely. It should not be an activity. You have to be, if you love yourself, if you're able to look at yourself in that mirror and accept who you are, faults and all, no matter what's going on in your world at that moment, you will engage in certain activities. You will engage in certain behaviors that you will not have to question. You will not put an excuse to it. You're going to engage in those behaviors because you want to, and it's for your own well-being. It should not be like a check off, like going to the grocery store. I got to buy rice. I got to buy beans. You shouldn't be checking it off. It should be an automatic thing. Every day before I go to work, I take 10 minutes to myself. Whether I'm sitting in my living room on the couch, whether I'm in the car, whether I'm in my office, I'm just sitting by myself, because that's the way I'm going to start the day. That's the way I'm saying my own affirmations to myself. I may have a sticky, I may write them down. However I feel at that moment that I'm going to take that time for myself. It's for me, and I have to be selfish with it for myself, because then my day starts.
Absolutely.
And it should not be an activity.
How engaging. I am so glad to hear that. Yeah. You gave some wonderful tips, and we're definitely going to take those home with us. Definitely. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. Thank you for being our guest. Our last speaker, and I know Dr. Christine, come on, get on, because you my baby. Child, me and Dr. Christine, we go back what? We go back since, let me tell you how far we go back. I started WOCPSEN as a group on LinkedIn. She was one of the first people to sign up. So we're talking about 2010 and on. And she's been with me every step of the way. And so this is her last season with us on the board, but it's not her last season with us being with us, because she can't get away from me if she wanted to. I don't know why she thinks why she can't get away from me. But anyway, Dr. Christina, have the last words.
Ms. Lowe, I love you to the moon and back. Thank you so much. And Dr. Sharon, Dr. Rodriguez, how you doing, my sister? It's been a long time. So I feel like you tossed the baton to me. And it's really interesting. I'm a health educator and wellness coach. And as Dr. Rodriguez was talking, it was clear that whatever she was saying was going to tie right into what I say. When I work with my clients, my professional women in particular, on the 8 dimensions of wellness. And Dr. Rodriguez went in and mentioned a couple already, but I'm going to round it out and mention them all. The spiritual, the physical, the emotional, the environmental, social, intellectual, financial, occupational. And these are 8 dimensions of wellness. And it is so important for us to recognize that we are multifaceted beings. And as much as it is important for us to engage in self-care, which is self-love, and engage in all of these dimensions of wellness, the work I also do pushes into those structures around us that need to be addressed to match the effort that we are putting in to our lives to do our best to be our best. So you go on vacation, you go take a retreat, and you go to take care of yourself and decompress. But you come back to work Monday morning, and it is as if the work multiplied and the demands got even higher, and your level of stress multiplies. The work I do is to push also into these organizations to discuss what policies, procedures, and practices need to be in place to recognize employees, recognize staff, recognize our professionals as whole people. Because if we're doing our work to take care of ourselves, to love on ourselves, to lean into our social support communities, to do our very best at sharpening our iron sharpens iron. We rub together and move ourselves forward to be stronger and better. Our work environment, which takes up a significant component of our day-to-day lives, needs to also be adjusted by us having clear-cut boundaries on how we interact with those spaces and how those spaces should be interacting with us. Clear-cut values of what is truly important to us, so that at the end of the day, what we put out, we can account for and say that we have had some measure of growth and accomplishment towards that gratitude we seek in our lives, because we are accountable for each moment of every day. At that very end day, to be able to look back and say, did we use this time well on earth? And with that comes this symbiotic relationship with our work environment, with our social support environment, where we do this on a collective level. It is very difficult to do alone. I run mastermind groups where I work with groups of women and coach through these 8 dimensions of wellness to help us come together in community, as well as influence our communities and our social support systems to do exactly this. Look at these 8 dimensions and how do we all level up? So I wrap us up to say, we have a responsibility with this life we have here. We have a responsibility to each other. We also have a responsibility to push back, clear cut those boundaries, and ensure that we put our voices and lean in forward in those spaces that may not like hearing it, but may need to hear it for the sake of our well-being. Because if you're giving your best and doing your best, it needs to be accounted for. And if it is not, you move forward to places where you can be your best and grow with others who value the same. So I thank you, Ms. Lowe, for the platform to speak for a few minutes. I love you dearly. And to the ladies on the call, to those on the call, I thank you so much for this opportunity to greet you this evening. Let us move forward in love and in strength and empower with intentionality.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much, Dr. Christine. It's really interesting. You're getting your hand clapped. So the wonderful thing about that is what you say, giving the best of your service. You see what's going to be next year? Next year, we're going to talk about giving that best of your service. We're going to break that. Yeah. But closing us out is a wonderful group of young women that I absolutely adore. Back in 1995, when I was undergrad at University of San Francisco, I'm coming fresh. I call it fresh off the boat because I'm coming in from New York. So a sister need to know where her hair get did, her nails get did. I need to know these things. Don't have me up in here and I ain't right. I'll play that. And so I went to a young woman that was on campus. I said, where do we get all this thing done? I said, a sister need to get connected. She goes, that's a great title for a group, Sister Connection. She goes, if you start it, I'll support you. That was in 1995. We actually became an official group on the University of San Francisco in San Francisco, California in 1995. And the group still exists. And my babies came to be with us today. So I'm going to have my babies. Come on, babies. Come on up in here. Be up in here. Get my babies. I want more. I want more. Come on, see, I reserve this. It's about 5 babies.
Hi. So we can introduce ourselves. I'm Mariah. I'm one of the co-presidents this year for Sister Connection.
Hi, I'm Chidera. I'm one of the co-directors of publicity on Sister Connection.
Hi, I'm Anya. I'm the secretary for Sister Connection.
Hi, I'm Alexis. I'm the other co-director. And this year we're focusing on unifying and bringing together Black women on campus, focusing on a lot of the things that you spoke about here today. So making sure that everyone knows they are free to color outside the lines. You don't have to take on the names that society has given to you. You can be comfortable in your own space. Self-care is a practice and not just an activity, and really trying to make sure our members know that and to take care of themselves first. So we put on a lot of different types of events. Next Saturday, we're participating in an Alzheimer's walk. We are also trying to set up a mentorship program on campus for Black women to be partnered with Black women as mentors, which is a resource that isn't necessarily available to us on campus. So trying to get that started. And we would love women in this call to be mentors as well. So yes, thank you for allowing us this space. Thank you, Ms. Loretta, for setting the foundation for us to be here and for Sister Connection as a whole. We've been doing pretty good. So,
Thank you so much. So that is the next generation of powerful women that are coming through. And you see, we're kind of in good hands. You might hear a lot of negative connotations, but based on what we see here, we're in pretty good hands. So we want to thank you so much for being with us this evening. We want to share with you next Saturday. It's always the first Saturday in November is the Walking in Silence for the Silence Domestic Solidarity Walk. Our theme is we don't walk for the cause, we walk because. Where does the walk take place? 10 o'clock a.m., your time, your community. So we encourage communities to come together and walk under a platform that is conducive and is supportive of your community. We have 5 cities in Nigeria that's walking. We have Ghana walking, Chad walking, Edinburgh, UK walking. In India, we have two cities in India walking. Indonesia, we have Trinidad, Tobago, we have Belize. Canada's walking, and all over the United States. So we're really excited that we'll all be walking 10 o'clock our time. Now, where does the solidarity come in? We are all silent in the walk. Now, there are multiple activities that are taking place after the walk, but during that time, we're in silence. We want to also welcome and thank UCLA for coming on board. They did the first walk with us 10 years ago because we are celebrating our 10th anniversary. Now, their walk will be on November the 14th because of conflicts of the facility, Drake Stadium, but they are still walking as well. So please go to our website, WOCPSCN. We look forward for you participating with us and multiple platforms that we're doing. Our theme is that we have a value core, which is gender equity and equality. And based on that, is our purpose, one community at a time. Thank you so very much for being with us. Not only will we see you next year, but we expect to hear from you to continue the conversation going. Thank you. Hi, Ms. Wyatt. Well, you didn't say anything before we leave. Say something. All right, sis. All right, sis. Love you too. Love, love, love. All right. All right. Be blessed, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Now, what we're doing after this is we're having a table reading of 4 women. Now, those who are here will be able to see that. You'll have to email us to find out how you can see it. Gotcha.